back to No Nostalgia Filter. I'm Angelo.
I'm Rob, and
we're
Sony won.
Sony won that. Sony won. So let's just give
Sony, among other things, Sony thinks that they won the last video game console so hard that they don't even need to show up for the next one. They did not announce the PlayStation 5.
Let's give this a little background before we dive right in. Me and Rob are tired. We watched all the other press conferences. I wasn't even sure that we had the capacity to keep watching this.
So we might be delirious. That might have all been like some kind of delusion, and it wasn't that awesome.
But I'm just going to say, I hung on everything. They had me from jump. I mean, they had me thinking weirdly from jump because the entire start was just an orchestra.
Yeah, they literally brought in an orchestra conducted by the God of War composer to do an overture for them. Like a full 6-minute overture.
Not for a game.
No,
just for the press conference.
For the press conference. It had a theme.
And what Rob was saying earlier is, if you noticed my Microsoft podcast that we did for that me and Raven did for that, I went so insanely mad because Project Scorpio was coming out, which was the new Xbox. Get over it. And Nintendo's doing the NX, and Sony isn't doing it.
Nintendo announced a console, Microsoft announced a console, Sony said, we're motherfucking Sony.
In fact, they even said Sony is a static platform. PlayStation is a static platform, so you don't have to worry about that.
And yeah, they bragged about when they're talking about their VR thing, which we're gonna get to in a minute. They bragged about there's all these millions of PlayStation 4 consoles that already have the hardware out there, and I cracked a joke and this is therefore we're gonna release the PlayStation 5.
But no.
But they're not.
They're not doing the console upcycle. Microsoft and Nintendo are, and they're like, no, keep playing with the PlayStation 4. That first of all, that takes integrity.
Yeah.
It's a big gamble, I will give you that, but it takes integrity. And it's really good for platform longevity.
Yeah. And I was saying earlier when I heard about this, this is gonna, a new console generation this fast is gonna suck for developers. They're gonna hate it. Because,
But you know what it is? Sony has the market right now, and now they get to keep it.
Yeah, they just said, alright, Nintendo, you're right. You fucked up. You can go back and try again. Yeah. Microsoft, you can tag along. See if you can figure out how numbers work this time.
And I'm
all right, you just hey guys, we're sorry we can't come along on this one. The Last Guardian people said if we changed consoles one more time, they would just all commit suicide. So we're gonna keep with the PS4 until The Last Guardian comes out. And by the way, The Last Guardian is coming.
Yeah, it has a release date
in October. October.
We're jumping all around, but it's because
we have been waiting for this poor kid's giant flying magic dog to die like Old Yeller for a decade.
And they showed it in the trailer. They showed it dying in the trailer. So yeah, Sony just put their foot down and it's like, developers, keep developing. Don't figure out new hardware. Don't spend more money on dev kits. Just keep making stuff for the PS4. And console owners, just keep buying stuff for the PS4.
It's like, yeah, we're gonna do this is
it's weird.
It's breaking the cycle.
I know.
This has been history. The wheel of fate has suddenly
is turning,
but it stopped turning. It's not going around again.
Right, and so Ragnar never becomes the Black Beast. That's a BlazBlue joke. Some of you are gonna get it, but So that had guts. I'm actually really upset that I chose this year to take off from E3 of all years. Because holy shit. But, so, I'm just gonna clap. Clap for Sony. Because, thank you. Like, that is a serious gamer's first policy. I mean, the PlayStation 4.5 is coming out. It's the PlayStation 4 Slim. You know, but
yeah, but they always do that. It's the same, right? There's no cross-compatibility issues.
Yeah, it's the same.
Anything,
shit.
It's just a new sort of
tinier, better hardware, but it's not like there's going to be.
Yeah, it's like a second printing of the same console.
Yeah,
it's not like everyone has to buy a new. Like all the gamers have to buy a new console, and all the developers have to buy a new dev kit. It's not just gamers first. Like, I'm still on about how good this is for developers, right? That they're gonna have this platform, because it takes a long time to make a modern high graphics AAA game.
Several years.
You can't just like keep yanking their chain.
I kind of love how Microsoft said we're taking steps toward gaming without generations, and Sony's like, we are too. The PlayStation 4 is still a thing.
That line was so full of shit. The Microsoft like gaming without generations. Do you mean you're gonna be able to go on like Newegg and buy an upgraded processor for my Xbox? I don't have an Xbox. I have a PC that I can actually do that to. No. You're going to do a generation again, just faster.
But we can talk about this the whole time.
Anyway, also the trailers were cool.
Yeah. So, the one thing that I would describe this as was innovative. All the other press conferences we saw felt like they were giving us the same things.
Right. It was like, oh, there's a sequel to this, there's a sequel to that. Hey, a new intellectual property once.
Yeah, but like otherwise, same old open world stuff, same old military shooters, same old sci-fi shooters. Outside of like Fee from EA and South Park at Ubisoft and Steep from Ubisoft, a couple things from Ubisoft.
Steep was innovative. It was just dumb.
Scalebound from Microsoft. Like, there were drips and drabs of really interesting stuff, but everything, or like other than one or two things, everything in the Sony press conference was a really brand new, fresh take.
Yeah.
On
even the Final Fantasy 15 thing. Like, I had to remind myself. No, Rob, you played the Platinum demo. It was super garbage.
But before we jump around, let's go through each title
at
a time. So it started with Dad of War. Dad of War, yeah.
So, like, this is Kratos, like, teaching his kid to...
Or hunt. A kid. We don't know if it's his kid.
It might not be his literal... It was his kid.
Mm-hmm.
He was dadding at that kid.
Teaching him how to hunt. Stern, but you know what was really interesting? First of all, Kratos doesn't have the blades of Athena. Or Chaos, or whatever. He just used an axe and his fists. Second of all, Kratos was grappling with anger issues.
Yeah, he like
he gets to this point, he's like, you let it get away, and then he stops and he's like, find it. You know?
Yeah, and like...
He takes a deep breath and he's like, find the deer. Because they were hunting deer and the kid screwed up.
Yeah, shot before he had a good shot and the deer got away.
Find the deer, take the shot when I tell you to. And like, Kratos doesn't rage out. And suddenly it makes Kratos a more interesting character.
Yeah, no, like I'm having trouble with words. But yeah, there were so many things in here that like, I've never been interested in that. Like, in a bunch of these we've said, if you already like this, you're gonna like it. There were things in here I liked that I have never liked before. God of War was all like, angry white guy does uber violence. Yay! And I did not give a shit. When someone said Kratos, I thought Tales of Symphonia. Which is not entirely pleasant. But I was into that God of War trailer demo. I think that was more like a
that was a gameplay demo.
That was a live gameplay demo. In fact, they showed the guy playing through. It was obviously
they even had a camera on his hands to make sure that it wasn't pre-recorded, which I give you like that another integrity thing, Sony. Cool.
Well, also just like knowledge of their audience.
Yeah,
because we would know, right? We are the community who sat and laughed when someone was playing a rousing game of the Warcraft 3 box art.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it is Norse, you know?
Yeah,
it is Norse mythology. They had, like, he fought a giant.
Yes.
So there's still a lot of that uber violence, but it feels like there's more story.
Yes, it's still a God of War game.
It's still a God of War game, but, like, it feels like they're taking themselves more seriously now. It's not just Kratos kills every god. Like, there's someone...
he is.
I mean, he is,
He's
but,
still gonna kill every god.
There's someone that he cares about. There's a deeper story. You can play as the kid, which is interesting.
At least for certain sequences.
Yeah, for certain sequences. I'm curious, you know? I'd be fine. So that was the first thing that hooked me for the press conference. And then they went to Days Gone.
Redneck bikers zombie horror.
Yeah, it started and, like, it was just this really emotional trailer and we didn't know it was about zombies. And they brought it back at the end. With a gameplay demo, and they're like, no, seriously, they're zombies.
So many
But it
zombies.
is more, like, if you thought Dead Rising had a lot of zombies, this is, like, continents full. Like, a whole, like, you know those scenes in The Walking Dead where it zooms out and every street is just packed to the brim with zombies? That.
And they're running at you.
And they're, like, actual zombies you can kill.
Yeah, like, he had a weapon with full auto capability. It was working realistically. Like, a horde of people on foot rushed at him, zombies, rushed at him, trying to engage him in melee, and, like, 20 of them died in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he had to run. And do it again, like, 10 times.
And he had to use the environment, he used Molotov cocktails, he used, like, shutters to keep zombies out for a while, cut bridges. It was really very interesting. I liked it better before I knew it was about zombies.
That's true.
I do think that zombies are played out, and so this was one of the things that wasn't as original. But the whole massive horde thing, like, is a new take on it.
Given that it was going to be a zombie game, they did something original with that.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that, like, I'm chomping at the bit to play this, and it was kind of a weird decision for them to end the press conference on it, but it looks wholly inoffensive, you know?
It looks solid and interesting.
It was one of the less interesting ones of the conference, which is saying something.
Yeah.
But, like, because it was still pretty interesting.
Like, that would have... It probably would have won the Ubisoft press conference.
Yeah. Moving on, The Last Guardian, like you said, it has a date.
Newbery Award winning The Last Guardian.
It has a date. It's coming out October 12th.
Yeah. For those of you less book or education nerdy, the Newbery Award, basically it's an award that you put on a book that means some 12-year-old white guy's dog will die at the end of this book.
It has a new graphic style. It looks more cel-shaded, more cartoony.
Right. Which, while still keeping the classic,
like, Ico-ish
architectural style.
Yeah, which was okay. They didn't show a whole lot more gameplay. It was more like, look at how cool. It was basically the entire trailer is, it's really happening now, guys.
We have a release date.
So in general, I played The Last Guardian at last E3. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of puzzles involving, like, moving your kid and the griffin around independently to, like, bridge platforms and stuff. If you liked Ico, if you like Shadow of the Colossus, you like this. The griffin's going to die.
So gonna die.
Basically, if you're a Team Ico fan, it's not bad. The question is whether or not it's going to still be important. like 10, 11 years later. I don't think... Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be bad. I don't think there's a chance in hell it's going to live up to the hype. Because 10 years of hype is a long time.
Yeah, it's true.
So, like, it's not going to blow people's minds. But it'll be okay.
You know, I would play more Ico levels.
Yeah. Following that, they had Horizon Zero Dawn, which I was really excited about.
Which is basically longbows versus robot dinosaurs.
The idea being the apocalypse happens, humanity mass dies out, machines are left to evolve on their own, and then humanity starts coming back. And so they have a fundamental understanding of technology, but only in so much that they can harvest it from the, like, living machine animals that exist now.
Right.
And it looked really cool. It looked cool at last E3, but now they showed, like, you can hack, like, animals to make them your mounts. There's, like, animals that corrupt other animals. You can analyze them to figure out their weaknesses. I absolutely love the offensive grappling hook thing, where, like, you stick a harpoon in something and then stick it into the ground, and then stick a harpoon in something and stick it into the ground to make, like, the machine animals tangled up on themselves. I still really don't know much about the story. The story is basically figure out why the world ended.
Yeah, and there's quote-unquote demons, or these weird machines that can corrupt other machines, and you trying to figure out what the fuck is up with that, because they're killing everybody.
But,
ordinary machines are about as dangerous as wild animals. You know, they can be harmful, but they're not, like, attacking human villages much.
Yeah.
Corrupted
They're
machines.
like animals with rabies.
Right.
Yeah. And it looked really cool. I mean, it looked about as cool as it did before. They just, they elaborated on the cool.
Yes.
I like the premise. I really like the premise. And the gameplay looks like general open world Who's-a-Magiggy, but at least it's general open world Who's-a-Magiggy with a gimmick,
Yeah.
Then this, Detroit Become Human. Now, for those of you who don't know, the people behind Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls put out a tech demo called Kara about an android in Detroit. And then they came out with Beyond Two Souls. Everyone was like, that sucked! Ellen Page sucked! Give us that Kara shit! And so they're like, okay.
So we have a robot hostage negotiator negotiating for hostages with robots.
And not like metal robots, like human-looking androids.
Yeah, very, very humanoid. Well, very android. You
Yeah.
don't see any feminine ones.
And he goes into this hostage negotiation and fails. But then it rewinds and it's like, figure out new evidence, make different decisions.
It didn't have to end this way.
Yeah.
It broke the fourth wall a bit. The robot talks to us quite a lot.
Yeah. But, like, the idea of you playing an android in a society with mostly subjugated androids, and, like, it showed you could resolve it peacefully, you could shoot the guy, you can get shot, you could kill his hostage, like,
you could die and still fulfill the objective.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, it's basically it's consequence the game, but unlike a lot of the other David Cage games that are like only aesthetically consequence the game, this looked like it was really consequence the game.
They were really pushing, like, there are many ways that this could end.
Yeah. And I think Kara's gonna come back, like the female android is gonna come back. The question of what it means to be human is going to, like...
Yeah, that was an obvious... Like, they didn't harp on it, but they clearly developed that theme.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, yes. I was excited for Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls 2, and Heavy Rain was pretty good, and Beyond Two Souls was kind of eh. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll give it a shot. So in their next trailer, we're not going to tell you what it was.
So, like, you open, it's dark, the phone is ringing, you pick up the phone, and a woman's voice says, you have to get out of there, they're going to kill you, and hangs up. And you hang up, and you're wandering, basically alone, through this wrecked old house, And, you know, it's dark, you've got a flashlight, very Silent Hill Shattered Memories. And, like, you see, you know, do the horror thing where, like, out of the corner of your eye, you see a person walking past, and I'm out of words, you go.
And so you check around the environment. There's like roaches around. Everything's dilapidated. You open this pot and like there's putrid stuff there. You look at pictures and you get this idea of who was there before you. And it's just really, really atmospheric. And then you find this tape. You put this tape in the TV and everything starts glitching out. Like you see like code, and you see someone like shouting, saying, "Why am I here? It's not supposed to be this way." And like figments of memories going across the screen, and shadows and just like corrupt data and really mind trippy, right? And you get this feeling like this feeling of dread, you know, as sort of like the orchestra comes to like this spike.
Right. I didn't think it was going to be a Silent Hill game. Like we didn't look like we were set in Silent Hill or anything, but it really felt Silent Hill.
Felt like Silent Hill. And then everything goes white, and then the title shows up, and it says Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
And we're like, what?
That's Resident Evil? That doesn't look at all like Resident Evil.
How is that Resident Evil? Why do I want to play Resident Evil?
There is a demo that was released today that we are probably going to download, and to be real, we are probably, next recording session, we are probably going to do this for the channel. But holy hell, that did not look anything like Resident Evil, and I wanted it. I wanted it so bad. And like, it's good that they buried the lead like that, because if they started Resident Evil, I would be like, whatever, it's gonna suck. But they hooked me in with the premise, and then I'm like, what the fuck did you do? Like, it wasn't a mansion, it wasn't running away from explosions, there wasn't a single zombie.
Yeah, I didn't see any zombies.
Like, there was no like
T-virus. Maybe that guy walking, he was moving pretty human.
Yeah, I don't know. What the fuck are you doing, by the way, Sony? Like, it feels like everything's getting rebooted into something I give a shit about. And by the way, it's totally playable in VR. Oh, it's first person, which is a thing that most other Resident Evils aren't.
Yeah, that's probably part of what...
It took a page from PT, from the old Silent Hills, that Hideo Kojima was working on, which we'll talk about a little later.
Boy, are they proud of getting him.
Yeah, but VR, speaking of, Sony, just mind blow, they released a price point to the PlayStation VR.
$399.
$399. That is less than half of the HTC Vive. Like, that is
what 2/3 of the Oculus?
Yeah, that is the cheapest like cell phone, like actual console VR set in existence. It way undercuts everything else on the market. It launches with 50 games, and every single game it's launching with is an actual game. Nothing is a tech demo. Nothing is weird and polygonal. You know, and they showed a lot of VR games here, Resident Evil 7 being one of them. It's just, they're all real big AAA games, more than the Oculus has. And considering that you don't need like an NVIDIA 980 or like 1080 like Titan, you know, graphics card to do this, you just need a PlayStation. I think they're winning. Like, I think they're winning the VR war.
I think that's probably part of why they had the confidence to not to break the wheel of fate.
Because they think they're going to win the VR war. I think they're going to win the VR war.
They might be, if the PlayStation 4 is the base on which the winning VR setup plays, they might just win the next console generation with the PS4.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I've played with the HTC Vive. I've played with the Oculus. Neither of them made me want to go, okay, I'm going to drop the money on this and set this up in my house.
For one thing, it was a lot more money.
Yeah, and set this up in my house so I could play these games. When they said the PlayStation VR was going to be $399 and showed the games for it, the first thing that went through my mind was, I want one of those. Like, it's a VR headset I actually want. It works with the PlayStation 4 controllers, or the PlayStation Motion controllers for certain games. It works with the controllers you already have, so you don't need to get new controllers. And it works with any PS4. I just don't know how you're able to beat that. And then to make things better, they showed us the VR games that we were going to get. So aside from Resident Evil, the least impressive VR game, which was still pretty impressive, was this thing called Farpoint. And we actually had to work to remember this because there was so much good stuff.
But it's like you're exploring a mysterious alien desert planet. Mm-hmm. I think it was shooty. Was it shooty?
Yeah, it was shooty. It was a shooter. It was Mars-like. There were aliens. I mean, once again, this is another age of shooters. This is like shooter number 20.
Right.
But yeah, you're on a Mars-like planet. You're stranded there. There are aliens. You shoot them. Hobbity hoobity hoo. In VR. Yeah. Good production value, but you know, who cares?
Yeah.
But then they showed a Star Wars X-Wing VR mission. They're doing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
No. This is just
X-Wing.
Remember, you may not remember. There were 3. There was X-Wing. There was TIE Fighter. And then there was X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Oh, so you think they're going to do the whole thing again?
They might. They named it after the first one.
Yeah, it's true.
They named it X-Wing.
I am excited. Like, they showed us a little bit of the battles. There were just so much stuff going on. Like
yeah, and you know, of course, it's Star Wars space fighter battles. You've got, you know, you're doing space combat at a range of about 5 meters.
Yeah. There's nothing about it I didn't like. It was very short, but like, I mean, I loved the old X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, you know? And doing that, first of all, releasing that game at all is cool.
Yes.
But
because this is not the age of the space flight sim shooter.
Yeah. Of which it wasn't the only one in this press conference, which is mind.
There was at least 1.5 of them.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a bit.
And then to put that in VR, you know,
right?
That once again, mind blown. I'm in there. Like it's hard to say which of these is like the killer VR app because I want to try them all. You know, like I don't want to get Sony VR because of Star Wars X-Wing, and I don't want to get it because of Resident Evil 7. I want to get it because it has this huge lineup that I could just try things with. After that,
Batman Arkham VR.
Yeah,
we didn't really see much of it. It was just the Joker giving a dramatic speech,
but
it was even a familiar dramatic speech.
Yeah, but first-person Batman.
Yeah,
so that's what it is. And then Final Fantasy 15 VR.
It's a shooter in VR. And there's a playable female character, so they're listening to things.
They also showed us actual Final Fantasy 7, which looks about as dumb as we thought it was.
You mean actual Final Fantasy 15?
Yeah, Final Fantasy 15. They did not show us the Final Fantasy 7 remake, which made me go, But like...
yeah, they might have, like, put it back and replaced the glass.
They also didn't show us Kingdom Hearts 3.
You're right.
Which makes
there was once again no new Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer.
Yeah.
That distant sound you hear is Kay's rage.
Yeah.
Transmitted through the bedrock of New Jersey.
But yeah, the Final Fantasy 15 they showed chocobos. Dubstep chocobos, and they showed the same crappy demo we saw earlier in the conference.
They were honest and showed the main character, whose name I don't even remember, getting hit like 5 times, which is pretty much how that gameplay goes.
And then they're like, oh, and you could play as a girl. It's just a bonus. She doesn't have a story, but you could play as the mechanic. Booby McChest a lot. chesty McMechanic tits. Just, oh my god. Not like there's any actual depth there, but whatever.
Well,
you did
depends
this,
on what you mean by depth. She was certainly three-dimensional.
This was probably the thing I was least excited.
In a graphic sense. Her graphics were three-dimensional.
This was probably the thing I was least excited about, which sucks because I'm a huge Final Fantasy fanboy and I just do not care.
So all right,
another
buried lead. So like you're in space, Captain on the bridge was like, Mass Effect? This is the wrong press conference for Mass Effect. You go out and then like you launch your space fighter, and it's not Star Wars. You're like in orbit around the moon, our moon, which they actually called Luna in the game. Thank you. Some other trailer called it Moon, which you don't. The moon is not actually called Moon. We call it the Moon because we only have one. You don't actually name your moon Moon because who invited Moon? Anyway, you get in the space fighter. You do the space fighter thing. You've got missiles and machine guns, and then you reach the enemy like big ship. It's bigger than the fighter. You get out of your fighter. And shoot your way through a zero-gravity shooter sequence with, like, recoil. Like, when, you're firing a gun that shoots bullets. So when you fire it, you get recoil and fly backwards if you're not, like, magnetic boosted or grappled onto something. If you fly up a couple meters, you're not walking. You've got a very nice grappling hook, so you can still move, but you're not...
It's interesting. A lot of space shooter sequences, they use, like, swimming physics. Like, you could move in three-dimensional space just because you decide to.
But in atmosphere, that would sort of work. You could kind of swim a little bit in air in zero gravity. It would look pretty dumb, and you wouldn't get anywhere fast.
Yeah.
But it would work.
But
this was an actual, like...
airless.
This was, zero pressure, zero gravity.
And they thought about how you would have to do it, which is you basically have to hook yourself onto other heavy objects.
Right. They didn't go with the standard excuse of magnet boots. I think you did have magnet boots, but you didn't use them much because you need more mobility. Because this is a shooter.
You could turn on magnet boots, but when you turned on magnet boots, you couldn't walk. You were rooted. So you could stay in place, but you couldn't like run around on the side of a ship. So that happens. Big sequence fighting with other like humans in spacesuits.
Yeah, and then like you break into the big ship, you let out all their atmosphere.
Yeah, you blow a charge and you vent.
Their bridge crew dies like chumps in explosive decompression. And you go in. Now you're in this ship. It has artificial gravity, or pseudo gravity. They might have been spinning. Which you manipulate in combat by hacking the ship. And it's just a very cool fighting situation in a lot of very different environments.
Yeah. Different than we've seen from any other shooter.
Right. Even the relatively conventional inside the ship sequence had some interesting bits to it.
Yeah.
The zero gravity sequence and the space fighter sequence were very different from anything that you would ever call a shooter. And then they finished and it was like, what? We were like, what was that? And they put up the title card and it said Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and our heads exploded.
Yeah, we were like, holy shit, we cared about a Call of Duty game. I will say, bar none, I am a big anti-Call of Duty asshole. I believe that the Call of Duty yearly release treadmill has ruined, basically, shooter innovation for ages. I mean, Activision is very nice. I found some of their games to be kind of interesting, but the policy of a yearly release schedule is bad for innovation. But this is so new and different, so unlike anything I've seen before, that I can't complain about it. I want to get my hands on it. I want to see how it plays. They didn't even show the multiplayer. How's that going to work in multiplayer? Like, I want like a Call of Duty where you get to have space like space dogfights and grappling hook battles. Like, yeah, yes, I want to play this, and it's Call of Duty. What is wrong with me? Is this real life?
Is this just fantasy?
I thought I was tripping out during the Ubisoft press conference. This is way more trippy.
And they're remastering Modern.
Oh yeah, they're remastering Modern Warfare. No one cares. I mean, a lot of people care. I don't care.
Yeah. They're re-releasing and remastering Crash Bandicoots.
Yeah. 1 through 3. They had this big like Crash Bandicoot intro, and we thought there was going to be a new Crash game, but there wasn't. Instead, Crash is going to be a new Skylander in the next Skylanders, Skylands Imaginators, where you get to build your own Skylanders, which is cool, except they're the new model for Crash Bandicoot.
That character design did not update to modern graphics well.
His face. First of all, his face is all he is.
Yes.
It's like, have you ever seen those pictures that are like The Simpsons in realistic 3D, and they look terrifying? That's what it looked like.
Oh god. It was like a furry Dorito wanted to eat you.
So, I mean, the Skylanders game looked fine, you know? Like, being able to make your own Skylander, that looked cool. It had, like, doodling features and stuff. That's okay. Crash is just nightmare fuel. So, good try, Activision. I'll still probably like the Skylanders game. Just please keep it away. Kill it with fire. After that, they had Lego Star Wars Episode 7. It was a Lego Star Wars game.
Yeah, you know, it looked funny.
Yeah, it wasn't as impressive as a lot of the other stuff. It was basically more Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
I can't complain. You know, it wasn't bad. But you know what you're getting with Lego games. Yeah. To rehash the same thing we've said in other press conferences. You know what you're getting here.
Yeah.
You know, so that's fine.
And then
why? Hello, Hideo Kojima.
Then they had Hideo Kojima descend from the darkness on a staircase of light.
Seriously, like that was like
I'm not exaggerating. That's what they did. And he announced his new game. It's called Death Stranding. I watched the trailer. I still have no idea what that was about.
It had naked Norman Reedus in it, though.
It sure did.
And for that matter, people are like, okay, the shit from PT, like the goal that people had before Konami apparently shat their brains out, is still happening-ish. You know, like it was like this dead world, and there was a baby, but it wasn't a baby. It was a ghost baby.
It turned into an invisible oil ghost.
Yeah, and then maybe Norman Reedus was the invisible oil ghost, and then he had dog tags on. And there are a lot of dead fish. I have no idea.
There is no way to tell what the game is about.
I have no idea.
Norman Reedus was naked.
Yeah, so. Basically, I looked at that and I'm like, I have no idea what that is, but I probably want it. Kojima, like, does that, and I wasn't even a big, like, Metal Gear Solid fan. Like, Kojima was just like, look at this, and I'm like, what is it? And he's like, aha, and I'm like, okay.
Then there is the game that, because of its proposed Twitter hashtag, I am calling Spider-Man-ps.
It was Spider-Man PS4, but they didn't put any spacing
or capitals or underscores or anything.
So Spider-Man-ps 4.
So, I mean, it's a Spider-Man game.
It looked really cool, you know?
I have deep reservations about when movies turn into video games or vice versa. And I mean, you know, there is Spider-Man comics, but this is obviously part of the blitz for the new Spider-Man that was in Civil War. Anyway, it looked. There is hope for this game. It might not be terrible.
Yeah, no, it might not be terrible.
Despite being a video game about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2 was pretty good back in the day. Looked a lot like Spider-Man 2. I mean, once again, this was... it's weird because, like, the later half kind of, like, got a little weaker.
Most of the... After what the fuck that was Call of Duty, the rest of it was kind of weaker.
Except for Death Stranding, because...
Yeah, well, Hideo Kojima descended from the darkness on a staircase of light and brought to us the next game.
Yeah. And then it suddenly ends, but before it ends, they have this random game montage that's just like, look guys, we only have an hour, but here's all this other shit, and like, it showed Persona 5, it showed Yooka-Laylee, it showed, there was even Overwatch in there, you know? It's just like, look, PlayStation has all this shit, guys, look at all this shit PlayStation has.
There was stuff in there that wasn't like, developed in or with, so they were just like, hey, game library.
Yeah, indie games were in there. It was really cool. And then like I said, then it ends suddenly, really abruptly too.
Yeah,
it was just like, that's it, get out. Not even a big closer. Like every other press conference had this like really big, powerful closer.
A lot of them I felt like were saving their strongest games for last, or a replay of their. They did show us the demo of redneck biker zombie fights.
Yeah, Days Gone, but like it was still ended really abruptly. It was really like, hey, we're fucking Sony, get out. I mean, and then they let everybody like play demos, but like that was it. It's like, we don't need to tell you anything more. What do you want, another like go to our booth? We have like Street Fighter and shit. Like we have the only fighting games that matter. We have, yeah. There's even Skullgirls in the montage, and that's very near and dear to my heart. So like,
that's because you injected it into your chest.
I know, but yeah. So congratulations, Sony.
You win.
You win.
I mean, you win E3.
Yeah, well, at least you win the press conferences. I mean, we'll see what else ends up happening. But holy hell, you got me hooked. But anyway,
we're gonna go play
Resident Evil. Yeah, next time on No Nostalgia Filter, the Resident Evil 7 demo.